All right, welcome everyone to the Victortown Zoning Board of Appeals. Call the meeting to order. If you would join me, start with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, thank you. A few housekeeping matters. Emergency exits are off to the side. The restrooms are in the lobby area. If you haven't done so already, please sign the attendance sheet in the back room. There's also some business cards in the back table, along with email and phone number of the planning department. There's also, there should be copies of the resolutions that will be heard and decided today. If you haven't done so already, either please turn off or silence your cell phones. And if you have any conversations that don't directly relate to the ongoing application, please take it out in the hallway so as not to disturb the meeting. Other ground rules, what we have is when the applicant starts speaking, what we'll do is the board will not interrupt unless absolutely necessary, and we hopefully will do the same so as we create a good record. Talking over each other is going to create some complications when we take minutes. If there are exhibits, just please let us know. We'll get the exhibit up on the screen. If there are new exhibits, let us know so that we can mark them accordingly. When you're talking about exhibits or you're using exhibits, do the best you can to use compass directions or things that we can identify in the minutes themselves, as opposed to saying, well, if you look over here and look over there, that really doesn't translate very well to actual minutes. If there are questions along the way, we will certainly let you know. All right, first on board, we have minutes of the April 6, 2026 meeting. If everyone's had an opportunity to review those, I would entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Leah, a second. Either need Matt or Matt. Okay. Now, I have to abstain since I wasn't here. And Chris, you were not on the board yet, right? So there's just going to be three of us. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. All right, so what we have first is the Phoenix Mills application. We'll be making the presentation.
No presentation.
No presentation.
Well, other than the exhibits that you have.
Okay. And you are?
I am Kyle Twombly with APD Engineering and Architecture, representing Hendler & Associates, owners of Phoenix Mills Plaza. Good evening, members of the board. Thank you for your time. The Phoenix Mills Plaza would like to add a new 12-foot by 20-foot storage shed in the rear of the existing property just to the south of building 100-320, which houses the Auto Tomatoes restaurant. They would like to use the accessory shed for dry storage only for the three restaurants that are in that plaza, which is the Route 96 Barbecue, Nashville Chicken, and the Auto Tomatoes restaurant. They are seeking a sprinkler waiver for installing a sprinkler system in the storage shed due to the use that it would only be for dry storage. It would be unoccupied, but we understand that it fell within this requirement due to the proximity of the building. So we are seeking the waiver for the sprinkler system.
Okay, I think you're aware, the fire marshal provided his review. Have a chance to look at that?
I did not receive a review.
Okay, if
From
you
the
want to
fire
look at
marshal.
it, I
Sure,
can
yep.
show it to you, and then we can ask you some questions about it. You can hang on to that one, and I can look at one over here.
Okay. Okay, yep.
Okay, so the fire marshal indicated that he doesn't appear to be too concerned about the problem or the sprinkler being there. The shed is small, even though it's not sprinklered. I think you indicated there will be just dry storage. And let's touch on a little bit of the undue economic hardship, which is one of the elements.
Okay, yep.
Could you provide some information on how much would it be to put a sprinkler system in that shed?
Right. We do not have any exact quotes from any contractors, but the undue economic hardship would be extending a compliant sprinkler system to a small accessory storage shed with minimal electrical work for lighting would impose a cost that's disproportionate to the shed that they're trying to install. It would just be like a typical storage shed you'd see in the rear of any property on a crusher stone base. Some of the costs that would be bared would include excavating a trench for the water line to reach the building, any modification or extension to the existing fire service, any backflow or fire line work, piping, inspections, testing of the water line, we would assume is more than the cost of the shed itself. But we do not have any official quotes from any contractors.
All right, and as far as the second element, physical or legal impossibility, anything you want to touch on that?
Just some practical constraints with the site. They wouldn't be able to reach that 40-foot exemption limit due to the floodway that's in the rear of the property. I think when you factor in the floodway, it would still be within that 40-foot exemption requirement for the sprinkler system.
Okay. All right, let's, anything else you want to add?
No.
Leah, questions?
First thing, what size is the shed? I don't know if you said that earlier.
Yep, it's going to be a 12-foot by 20-foot shed.
Okay. And could you define what the dry storage is? You know, what type of materials that consists of?
Yep, so typical dry storage for a restaurant would be any single-use items such as plastic cups, plates, silverware, canned storage goods for food, flour, grain, typical things that are used for the restaurants that would not consist of cooking oils or any other wet storage.
Okay. Now, I understand with the single-use utensils, plates, and takeout boxes, that's.
Yep.
But with like the flours and grains, are they going to be in case, kept in like, sealable, plastic bins, with the top on it or something?
Right.
Because if they're just thrown on the shelves, mice or something can get to it.
Yep.
Or other animals.
Right. That, I can't speak for that, but I do understand that the storage shed would be used. They would take deliveries directly from the trucks. Usually those come in pallets that have been sealed and would store them in the shed until they needed to be used. So.
Okay, in your letter, on page 1, under basis for waiver, item number 4, and it stated prohibit flammable storage, and understood, and then other than incidental consumer quantities. I'm just concerned that, I understand you're not going to keep big amounts of flammable material, but even the incidental small amounts could, could cause a fire, especially, if something got knocked over and could set off the plastic, utensils or plates. So if you could just speak to, what they, what they may plan on storing in there, about those incidental items and how they would store it, because that may be a problem.
Okay. We could develop a plan in order to keep the incidental quantities within a separate storage container with secondary containment in case anything leaked away from the other dry storage in the shed.
Chairman, maybe, we want to put a condition for that.
As far as how they're going to manage it?
Well, about, for the, I understand they, might have some incidentals, of those consumer flammable things, but, maybe we should, if we approve this, put a condition, on how to store that within the shed, to not accidentally ignite something else.
I'll put that as a thought, and we can circle back to that. Any other questions?
One more thing, those items that are being planned to be stored in this shed, where are they currently now being stored?
That I do not know.
Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Larry, you got questions?
I do, several.
Okay.
This is the largest storage shed of the six that are, or the five that are already back there, right?
That I do not know.
It looks like it from the map you've given us.
Okay.
Okay. How much is the storage shed going to cost? Since you didn't bring us the cost of how much it would take to put the sprinkler in, and you're saying that it's more than a storage shed, could you tell me how much the storage shed costs?
I have generally seen them between $3,000 and $5,000, upwards of $10,000 to $15,000.
The sprinklers that could be put in the back could cover all six of the sheds. I mean, when you're talking about how much it costs to put sprinklers back there, you'd put it back for that shed, but also the other five that are presently waived, right?
I'm not sure when those sheds were installed or whether or not they received waivers, I would assume, but the locations are pretty far apart from each other. It would be a lot more expensive to cover the sheds that exist on a separate part of the parcel from where they're proposing this shed.
Okay. Will there be electric or gas?
There will be electric underground to service an exterior light and 4 interior lights.
Or you're already digging up to put the electrical in?
Yes, but it would be the owner of the site is a master electrician licensed by the city of Rochester. He would be doing the work himself.
You'll have to dig it up.
Right.
Okay. What is the nature of the ground around the storage? Is it paved? Is it, I mean, you talked about a truck coming and taking off a pallet and putting it in this building.
Mm-hmm.
Can a truck get back there? Is
They-
it
they
like paved? Is it just dirt? Is
It's, I think it's partially paved, and I have been told that they frequently have deliveries that go in the rear of the property.
Okay. Okay. I was just trying to get it in my head. I have no more questions. Thank you.
Matt?
Only question I had, is there a specific reason for it to be 8 foot from the building versus just putting it onto the side of the drive aisle in line with the other sheds that are there?
No specific reason. I think the only condition that the owner of the property was looking for is that they would still have room for delivery access in the back.
Okay, so they could then just flip it to the other side of the stone
Yes.
drive lane that's there and just get a little more separation than from the existing building
Yes.
without an issue? Okay.
Yep.
Good. Chris, questions? No. Okay. All right.
No.
So, touching on the intent of the code, my experience has been the intent of the code is partially for property itself, but primarily for firefighter protection. So if should there be a fire and firefighters go in and it causes bigger problems, you potentially put firefighters at risk. I think you pointed out well enough that this is an accessory structure, 5 to 15,000 if it goes up. Chances are firefighters aren't going to get there in time anyway, sprinklers are not. And the loss is minimal compared to the risk of life. We have a fire marshal giving a review, and honestly, I've never seen it this brief and supportive. Others, it's oftentimes, there's a bigger concern. Here, it seems like it is a shed. There's not going to be employees in there. It's for dry storage. It seems to be a necessary element for the function of the restaurant or restaurants, or however many he owns. So you've checked most of the boxes, and you just confirmed no employees will be working in there, correct? Just for
correct.
the record itself.
Correct.
The combustibles themselves, outside of food grain or whatever's in their plastics, are they combustibles? Yeah, if you get it going, but I see the risk being minimal. So with that, I'm not sure as far as putting a condition on the storage, would it serve the intent of the code? If there's something else you want to add, or we can discuss it further, I'd be happy to hear it.
Well, it's just, I'm always concerned if there's anything, little combustible that could cause a fire, just to minimize it. I mean, I'm in agreement with the fire marshal, it's not worth it to put in, sprinkler system, and my feeling, and also deferring to the fire marshal, which I always do, but just, you want to minimize the risk and just have proper storage in there, so no two things that could, if one could ignite the other, that they're not next to each other. That's really my only concern.
All right. Larry, what do you think about that? Are you concerned about the conditions to it? Are you okay with what we've heard so far? Would you like to see some conditions to it as far as the conditions being a talking point right now?
I'm okay with it.
Matt?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Okay. That's all that I thought of saying. Anyone from the public want to speak for or against the application? Okay. I think with that, it feels like the board is comfortable enough that the onus should be and will be on the owner to properly store, keep the hazards to a minimum, and we're going to rely on the fire marshal review for support for the waiver. That be all right? Okay, so as far as the elements themselves, the undue economic hardship, the applicant has indicated that cost of shed is somewhere between $5,000 and $15,000. While the applicant hasn't provided specifics about how much it would cost to put a sprinkler system in place in the shed, I think it's a safe presumption that installing a sprinkler system would be far in excess of $15,000. So it appears to be cost prohibitive to do it that way. And that goes in line as well as with the physical and legal impossibility. There really aren't any other viable alternatives which would meet the objectives of the code. We are relying on the fire marshal's report dated April 15, 2026. There will be electric installed. There would be lights only. Did you say there's going to be outside lights?
One exterior over the entrance doors.
All right, and that needs to be dark sky compliant?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Would anyone on the board like to add anything else to the criteria for, or I should say findings of fact, for the sprinkler waiver? Nope, hearing none. I would,
Criteria or the resolution?
pardon me?
The criteria or the resolution?
We're working on the resolution itself for the waiver. There's,
Okay. 'Cause I have several questions on the resolution.
go ahead, go ahead.
One, I assume we'll change the date. Mine says April 6th.
Yep, I already
Okay.
crossed it out.
The whereas paragraph on the bottom of the first page seems to end suggesting that we're going to put something of the fire marshal review in this resolution, where it says in this case, no, on the first page.
Yes, I always copy his comments and put them in the sprinkler waiver resolution.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
And we are going to, even though it says Patrick Coates, it will be Chris Babcock. Other,
And just one more thing, on the third page, your first name is spelled wrong. Third page.
First paragraph, first sentence.
The top.
oh, yeah, got it.
I did,
Okay, thank
I'm a
you.
nitpicker. I'm a nitpicker, as you know.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Anything else? From anyone? All right, I would entertain a motion for the sprinkler waiver approval.
Move to approve.
Larry, a second.
Second?
Thank you, Matt. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so that would be 5-0.
All right.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, members.
Right. So the Kava signage, that's been withdrawn. We're on to Bass Pro. Early. So what I'd like to do, since this is a rather large application, multiple requests for variances, we're going to give you an opportunity to make your presentation. I believe we have someone from Wilmerite that's going to then make a presentation after you. Wes from our engineering department, he's going to say a couple of things, and then we'll give the board an opportunity to ask questions along the way. Sound good?
Excellent, thank you.
Very good.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name's Charlie Gottlieb, Land Use Counsel for Bass Pro Shops. I'm from the law firm of Whiteman, Osterman, and Hanna in Albany, New York. Here this evening for both Bass Pro Shops and Tracker Boats. Here with Glenn Harvey and Emily Smith from Fisher Associates, our project consultants, Peter Mann from Bass Pro Shop, Tim Wilmot from Wilmerite, as well as John Dower from Wilmerite. The project, as you see in elevation there on the screen, is going to be repurposing the approximately 92,000 square foot vacant Lord & Taylor building that is at the very rear side of the Eastview Mall. That Lord & Taylor building has been vacant, I believe, for over 5 years. It is an anchor tenant building. So as you can imagine, having an anchor tenant spot within the Eastview Mall is vital to the success of the property, as well as the longevity of the Eastview Mall. We have been before the planning board a few different times. From the planning board, we need site plan review, as there are some alterations to the access aisles and the sidewalks that go along this portion of the road. We're also seeking a special use permit from the planning board because as with all Bass Pro Shops, there is an element of outdoor seasonal storage, boats, kayaks, ATVs, and so forth. Planning board review has been going quite smoothly. The planning board is happy with the project. Their comments have been heavily emphasized on making sure internal traffic circulation is an element of this project to ensure the safety of all customers coming to the site. We were tasked with coming before this board for the signage variances. Once this board has made a determination on the signage variances, we do expect to go back to the planning board to receive what I would think would be a pretty quick final approval of the project. My office has submitted a few different packages to your board. Our initial application which had within it our site plans, our brand book, which is what we're calling our signage package, and pictures, aerial images, and street images that I'll walk this board through as we continue. I also recently submitted a revised area variance submission. What we learned through the planning board process was initially this was going to be a Bass Pro Shop outpost, which is different than a Bass Pro Shop outdoor world. So we are now a Bass Pro Shop outdoor world, and the key to that is really the size of the building. So our goal this evening is to walk you through the signage, walk you through the area variance request, but really here to take comments from this board. We have comments from your code enforcement officer. We'll respond to those, and certainly any comments you have this evening, we'll respond fully in writing. Before I go through each elevation, I just want to put some things into context. The ultimate area variance test per your code and New York state law is whether or not the benefit to the applicant outweighs the detriment to the community. If the benefit to the applicant outweighs any detriment to the community, the area variances must be granted. To get to that answer, you have that 5-factor balancing test that you are most likely more familiar with. In our application, we went through that 5-factor balancing test. I will briefly touch on them this evening, but I wanted to make sure that overarching test is considered, because you'll hear me speak quite often this evening that we are completely not visible from Route 96 in that corridor. This is the furthest western point on this mall site. It is visible briefly from 490, but not from Route 96. And in fact, it's not even visible in a lot of locations on the internal Eastview Mall Drive. And that's what our pictures will demonstrate. The project location, let's see if I can put a different image. Oh, perfect. So this is the top of our brand book. So you'll see here on the western side, that white roof, that's the old Lord and Taylor building. Route 96 is up here to the east. So we are approximately 1,855 feet from Route 96. It can't be seen from Route 96. It has limited views from Eastview Mall Drive, as I said, and really a lot of the signage is needed for internal traffic circulation, as well as Bass Pro Shop branding. We are in a purely commercial area. There are no residences anywhere near this site. So really, there are no sensitive receptors or negative community impacts that would result from the project going forward. Importantly, the signage that we are going to go through is what every customer expects when they go to a Bass Pro Shop. I don't know if many of you have been to a Bass Pro Shop. We just recently got one where I live in Clifton Park, New York. I take my kids there on rainy days. They get to play in the boats. It's really quite an atmosphere and a fun family environment. But when you go to a Bass Pro Shop, it's unlike any other store where customers are expecting to see the themes, see the architecture, and to see the signage, and that's how they know that the Bass Pro Shop is around the corner. One of the things we'll touch on tonight is this idea of brand signs. Your zoning code, your sign regulations rather, prohibit signs which permanently advertise a particular brand that a business offers for sale. There's no definition in the code of what is and what is not a brand, but we are requesting relief from that section of the code, and I'll just go to this elevation quickly. There are some brands that the code enforcement officer have deemed to be brands, and therefore prohibited on the building. One is Tracker Boats and Tracker Service. So you'll see that on your western portion of the southern elevation. Tracker Boats and Tracker Services is a separate LLC. It is completely owned, that LLC is completely owned by Bass Pro Shop. And I actually just learned today that it is a separate LLC with a lease agreement to be a subtenant within the building. So that may or may not change the area variances that we are considering. Tracker Boats is Bass Pro Shop's boats and RV company, and they align with the special use permit that we are seeking because a lot of the boats and the ATVs, depending on the seasonality, will be displayed outside of the building. The other tenant is, see here, it's not quite as clear from the screen, Ascend. Ascend is another product exclusively owned by Bass Pro Shop and manufactured by one of their subsidiaries. That is a gear element, backpacks and so forth, as well as kayaks. And they also have an outdoor storage element. Another brand that will be reoccurring is Redhead. It's on the eastern portion of this, and that's Bass Pro Shop's exclusive clothing line. What's important about these brands, and the other, is Power Pros Service Center, which you see on the north elevation, which is logically right next to the Tracker Service sign. Power Pros Service Center. We understand your code enforcement officer has deemed this not to be a brand sign, but I wanted to just highlight that that is the boat service organization that services the Tracker boats. Tracker boats and ATVs, they are only sold at Bass Pro Shops, except they can be sold at very limited specialized authorized dealers. Ascend, Redhead, and Power Pros Service Center, those are exclusive at Bass Pro Shop and Cabela's. They are not found at any other store location. Again, I said the brand is not defined in the zoning code, and we have a very unique situation here. Bass Pro Shop owns each sign. We are not putting signage on this building that says Under Armour or Remington or some other outdoor company that is not owned by Bass Pro Shop. These brands are actually manufactured by Bass Pro Shop's White River Marine Group. So as you can imagine, these brands are completely controlled by Bass Pro Shop, making them distinct from putting a Nike logo on Dick's Sporting Goods, for example. These are not separate brands that I think that this regulation is trying to prohibit. Bass Pro Shop has merchandise within it that has the Bass Pro Shop logo on it. Certainly we sell those in the store. What I'm getting at is the ZBA, and rightfully so, is likely worried about precedent with this application and setting precedent for future applications. I cited some case law in my initial application that talks about that law in New York. And a ZBA only has to follow its prior precedent if it's based on essentially the same facts, and in that future application, if they don't distinguish the future application from the precedent that was previously set. Here, we have such a unique situation that precedent really shouldn't be a worry. I highlighted a few in my letter, but again, we're at the very rear western portion of the Eastview Mall, 1,885 feet from Route 96, purely commercial area, can't be seen from Route 96. Precedent related to the brand signs, they're completely owned and manufactured by Bass Pro Shop entities. They are not an advertisement for another company. They are Bass Pro Shop. And you'll also hear throughout our review that a lot of this signage is needed for internal traffic safety. So in sum, we submit that the benefits to the applicant of this increased signage outweighs any detriment to the community, because there is no detriment to the community, because you will not see these signs unless you are passing by on 490 or you are within the mall site. They're needed for traffic safety. We talked about architecture with the planning board a little bit. The town's architectural regulations do identify that when there is a theme to a building or a theme to a store or an architecture style of that store, everything should be consistent with that theme, including signage. As I mentioned, you could look at that building and you look at the Bass Pro Shop that was just built in Clifton Park, New York, and others in the area. They all have the same theme. They all have the Redhead, they all have the Tracker boats, they all have the Ascent logos. And that's how people come to know that they're there. These area variances are not substantial, And it's important to understand here that I highlighted cases in our application that substantiality just isn't a numerical evaluation. You actually have to look at the totality of all the circumstances surrounding all the variances combined. And here, given that there is no detriment to the community because of the low visibility of these signs, the area variances are not substantial. Another thing I had our sign company do was the way this code requires you to measure signage is a box around the complete sign. And that doesn't account for the dead space that's within the signage that isn't coloring or isn't lettering. There's actually 660 square feet of dead space in our entire application. So that really reduces the substantiality of kind of the pure numerical value. So with that said, I'll start walking you through the elevations. I just wanted to go, whoops. Uh-oh, I really screwed up now.
You brought your tech guy.
Yeah, it's not me, trust me. I have my 8-year-old help me with my phone. So I don't see the pictures that are in the exhibits, or in our first submission. But what I will say is, I took a drive all around Eastview Mall Drive. And when you're coming in from where Target is, and in that location, at that intersection by the JCPenney, when you're looking at the mall, you cannot see that Lord and Taylor building. And so you don't know whether you're turning right, if you're turning left. It's impossible to see. You can't see this Lord and Taylor building until you actually take a right and then you curve a little bit more down. Similarly, on the other side, you can't see that Lord and Taylor building until you're kind of passing what I'm going to call the Chick-fil-A intersection now, and you're headed towards the movie theaters. So really, it's not until you're at the back part of the mall that you're going to see this. And that's important to realize as we're going through the signage. I think I'll use these elevations. So this is I'm going to take the variances by elevation. So up here, we have our southern elevation, which is the main entrance. The brand signs that we're seeking relief for are Tracker Boats, which I'll also highlight as an applicant to this application, Ascend, and Redhead. You'll also see a mural here. That mural was recently revised at the request of the planning board to say the town of Victor. So we were happy to make that change to the mural to break up the facade. So we need area variances for the brand signs. Related to square footage, we are permitted to have 416 square feet. This elevation is 416 feet and 8 inches. We are proposing 1,626.85 square feet. That includes the 2 Bass Pro Shop logo signs, the World Outdoor sign, and those brand signs, as well as some signage under here that just says Johnny Morris, which is the founder, I believe. In addition, there is a different lettering on a grouping of signs in this location. So it's different font requiring us to have a variance. The western elevation, you'll see here, this is facing 490. We have the Bass Pro Shop logo sign, and then we just have a customer pickup sign here. Again, with another mural suggested by the planning board, because without that mural, the planning board thought that this elevation wasn't broken up enough again, or broken up enough. To which I asked, do you want more signs? That elevation, we're only allowed to have 241 square feet. We're proposing 296.3 square feet. What's interesting on this elevation is we have an existing Lord and Taylor sign there. We just got the dimensions there. It's currently non-conforming. It's about 325 square feet, which obviously will come down. So in actuality, the signage on this elevation is looking like it's going to be reduced from what exists today. The northern elevation, I want to highlight here is this Bass Pro Shop logo sign. This tower is actually on the southwest corner of the building. It's not on the northwest corner of the building, but you still will see this logo sign from the northern elevation. So I included it in the northern elevation variances. Here you have a tracker service identifier, and this is where folks will bring their boats with their trailers in for service. And this is the access door with the signage for the Power Pros Service Center. Here's just some close-ups of what the Bass Pro Shop Outdoor World signage will look like. There's the Johnny Morris with the different font, which requires an area variance. And these are just simply specifications. So I'm going to talk about the monument and wayfinding signs now. Again, I have pictures in our application that show really the location and the need for them. But your zoning code was recently amended to allow additional wayfinding and monument signs in this CC zoning district, I believe with the Eastview Mall in mind. So here is that intersection when you're coming in from Target. I think you have J.C. Penney right here. This is a sign, we are allowed to have one wayfinding sign. One wayfinding sign that is 6 feet high with one side being 20 square feet. We're proposing 2 wayfinding signs. This is the wayfinding sign that is in need of a variance. It's compliant with height and sign dimensions. However, we need a variance for a second wayfinding sign, as well as it being on a separate tax parcel. As you likely know, the Eastview Mall has got a handful of tax parcels on it. Although we're just kind of a stone's throw away from the Bass Pro Shop, it's on a different tax parcel and requires a variance. What I will say here is this, at least as I was driving the site, seemed imperative to identify where the project is. If you're coming in at this intersection, it'll tell you you have to take a right. And again, you can't see that Lord and Taylor building at this intersection at this location. So it's vital for traffic safety. The new CC district regulations also allow us to have another monument sign on Route 96. That freestanding monument sign can be 8 feet in height with 20 square feet per one side. So you'll see here, we have its location, which I know there are questions on its actual location. And the planning board had us do an overall site plan of the entire mall site. So we can clarify that. But the area variance we need here is the code requires it to be 35 feet from the edge of pavement of Route 96. It talks about it being 35 feet from a public right-of-way. Route 96 is the only public right-of-way. Eastview Mall Drive is a private drive. So we have to be 35 feet from Route 96. We're proposing 20 feet from Route 96. The reason for that is a few things. One is we want it to visually line up with the Eastview Mall sign that is across Eastview Mall Drive in this location. And there are some utilities and some other signs in this location. So that was the best fit for its location. The other is to set it back 35 feet. If you're traveling north on Route 96, I believe it's north, it might be, I think it's labeled north. If you're going up the hill and you are about to deciding whether or not to make this left-hand turn into the mall site, that sign needs to be closer to the road so you can see the monument sign before you have to traverse across, I believe, 4 lanes into the left-hand turn lane. And so our traffic consultant is here, and we're going to provide some more information on that as we move forward.
Excuse me, one
Yeah.
quick question on this sign you were just talking about.
Mhm.
This sign is right in front of, like City Mattress,
Correct.
that, okay.
Yep.
Just want to clarify,
But
thank you.
it's facing High Street and not 96, at least I see it from that picture.
Correct, it's facing this intersection of High Street, yes.
Okay, and I assume your sign people will tell us why if it faces High Street, that you'll be able to see it from,
Yeah, so what few things we're gonna do,
96.
we're working on a view shed assessment to make sure where you can see that from and if any tweaks need to happen.
Okay.
But its location 20 feet is what the variance is
Right.
needed, and that won't change.
but I drive that all the time, and you will not be able to see that sign coming up 96.
Right, so that's a good point, and we'll certainly take a look at it. See, now, here we have our wayfinding sign that is permitted by code. It is right in this little pork chop. The new Chick-fil-A establishment is going to be in this location. This sign is vitally important to traffic safety because Bass Pro Shop traffic that is either coming in from 96 North or High Street, we want them to continue straight back. We do not want them turning and adding into this traffic congestion here and traversing the front of the mall. If they simply go straight back, it's a straight shot down to where Bass Pro Shop will be located. So it's needed to disperse traffic. Another thing our traffic team is looking at is whether or not this design of this signage clears all sight distance requirements, and so that it won't become an issue for someone at this stop bar right here trying to take a left-hand turn. So more to come on that. This sign, as it stands today, does not need any variances, from my understanding. This is a sign number 19. This is located prior to the DOT right-of-way, but off of our tax parcel. This is a freestanding pylon sign. This is needed, given the high speeds on 490, to make sure that they are visible at folks traveling at that speed, rather than trying to search for the building. Variances needed here are for a second freestanding sign to allow the pylon style sign. It is proposed at 50 feet in height. It is proposed at 559.3 square feet. And again, it's on a separate tax parcel. Those are a rundown of the application. I know it's a lot, so if you have any questions or want me to focus in on a sign, please let me know.
All right, what I'd like to do is collectively, talk to somebody from Wilmerite and then our engineer and see if, I see Supervisor Maron's here. So then, once we gather all the information, there may be questions that we have that will be answered either by Wilmerite or from the
Sure.
engineer, et cetera. All right,
Absolutely.
So we'll circle back. There's someone from Wilmerite that's here that would like to say a few things about the project?
Good evening. My name is John Dower. I'm the Senior Vice President and Director of Leasing for Wilmerite, and thanks for having me. Mike Dunham is here representing Bass Pro Shop as well, and I think will probably come up as well. Thank you for the time tonight. This is an exciting project and tenant to bring to Eastview. My team has been challenged with keeping Eastview not only relevant but thriving, and I think we've done a very good job of that, and that's a lot of that has been with the help of the town of Victor and a great working relationship with you on several tenants, and including obviously Bass Pro being the latest. This vacant anchor has been a very scary issue for us. There's things called primary anchors in a mall, and those are the ones when you're in the common area and you're walking towards it. And that's what you see as you're walking towards. Those are called primary anchors. And when those are empty, it has a real impact on the whole common area and those small shop tenants. And what you start to see if it's vacant too long is that the tenants closest to it start having the trouble the soonest. And they start wanting to change locations or they don't renew upon expiration. And then that starts snowballing down the common area further and further away until you can get to a level of vacancy that is really troubling and can really turn a center from a great center to a not great center. And as much positive momentum as we have at Eastview right now, and we really do, momentum can work equally as difficult once it changes and goes the other way. To try to change that momentum is very, very difficult. And I think if you were to look kind of east and west of us and up and down the Thruway and other parts of New York State, you can see a lot, and quite frankly, Monroe County, you can see a lot of examples of where once thriving malls are no longer malls, or certainly no longer thriving. And we certainly are doing everything we can to keep Eastview as one of the best malls in New York State and certainly in upstate New York. And this deal is extremely important to what we're doing. And not just solidifying that anchor, but then that whole wing is absolutely crucial. So I appreciate your consideration with all of this. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Someone from Bass Pro?
Thanks for everybody for having us. I'm Mike Dunham. I do all of the real estate development for Bass Pro, and I'm a fellow upstate New Yorker, and have a little place in my heart for all the deals we made in upstate New York. And I'm sure you know that many years ago, we had signed up and announced a deal in Victor on another project that didn't transpire. And for a long time, I went back and forth to my home in Ohio, to my farm in Hamilton, and always had an eye on this mall. And I looked at Irondequoit, and I looked at Marketplace, and I've looked at pretty much every piece of real estate in the country, and have worked out most of the deals in America. So I noticed that this one day I was coming to see the new Dick's House of Sports, and as I drove around the mall with my wife and my dog, I saw that big white building sitting there, and I'm like, wow, that'd be an awesome box, but it's on the back side of the mall, and I'll never do a deal on the back side of a mall. And I said, but there is one little twist. Right behind all those trees is a big highway, and that's one of our main goals, is to have highway visibility. So I got these guys, Morgan, to get the tree company out there, and our founder said, if we get rid of those trees, maybe we'll take a better look at that box. And we cleared the trees, and I think you all could see how it opened that box. And that gives us the curb appeal and the ability to make the wow factor that every Bass and Pro in America has. And so that, combined with what John Dower said, which is very key here, you have the last great mall in this market. And that's happened all across America, where we've seen malls just fall apart. Sears already closed. They were fortunately replaced with a great retailer, Dick's, or relocated Dick's. And but Penny's is not long for the world, and Lord & Taylor's gone, and the mall could go either way. And thanks, we made a deal. I think the recapture of the property by the town has been a very ingenious move to get it developed. So I will say that I told them from the very beginning that signage will be key. It's going to be the make or break of this deal, because we have to be seen. And the thing about Bass Pro is, I'm sure maybe many of you know, but even our store in Auburn pulls people from 4 states on a regular basis. Now, a lot of that's tourism, but the whole Finger Lakes has tourism. So there's going to be people coming from great distances, and wayfinding is critical. Otherwise, we have people going the wrong way and figuring out how to get there. So thank you for a great presentation on the technical aspects of this. But this is our typical elevation across America, and we've been very fortunate to receive the variances we've needed, and I hope that we're able to get it here. It's going to be a real big benefit for this community, from our involvement to the attraction of new tax dollars to the creation of more jobs, and for the health of this mall in your town. So I'm really grateful for you guys to consider this variance request. And if you had any questions, otherwise I'll sit back down.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Russ, our engineer, have a few things to say for us?
Good evening, Wes Petty, Senior Planner with Labella Associates, Town Engineer. I wanted to share a bit with you, just for informational purposes as you go through your deliberations here, some of what the town board has gone through in the past and what Mr. John Dower mentioned in terms of, the mall of today might not be the mall of tomorrow. These malls, they change, they evolve, some fail. So there's been some conversation about that already tonight. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the commercial zoning district that was in the town prior to the end of 2025, right? So at the end of 2025, the town board here did adopt a new commercial center zoning district for the mall area. Now, this whole process about thinking about what the mall could be in the future, right? That started several years ago, right? So I want to get into that a little bit. Let's see if we can advance the slides here. So this is the 2025 and previous zoning map, which, we've got the different colors that are up there. You've got the green is the residential. You've got some orange industrial. You've got the yellow is the commercial. And some blue is multi-residential zoning districts. So in looking at these zoning districts, we took a look at this particular map as an aerial photograph, and it highlights the commercial zoning district, right? So you see the yellow up here around Eastview Mall, and I think you've got the Victor Crossing Plaza here, and then you've got the intersection of Main Street Fishers and Route 96 down here. So in that vicinity, we have the Delta Sonic, the Wendy's, the Burger King, the M&T Bank. There's a small little this is the same zoning classification over here, over in the hamlet of Fishers. I think that's maybe right where the fire station is over there. And then you can see there's little strings of this yellow color along Route 96. Smaller businesses, and then over here by Victoria Woods, you've got some commercial zoning districts. So this was from 2025 and prior, and you can see, if you look at this, the town was looking at this, and we said, hey, this neighborhood over here, this commercial zoning district, that neighborhood is very different than what's going on up here, right? And the same thing as over here in the hamlet of Fishers. These areas, the neighborhoods surrounding these smaller commercial areas is very different than what's going on up here. So we're looking at, you've got a broad range of uses that are allowed in the commercial zoning district: bed and breakfast, healthcare, institutional, not-for-profit, essential services, retail, commercial, restaurants, that sort of thing. So the dimensional requirements of this zoning district, right? Regardless of whether we're up here by the mall, and even across the street where Dick's used to be, I guess what's in there now, we have Hobby Lobby up in here. Very different, right, than what's down here where Victor Chevrolet is, for example. So minimum lot sizes are 30,000 square feet. Lot frontage requirement, a minimum of 150 feet. Lot depth was required to be 200 feet. And the maximums, right? Your maximum number of stories, regardless of whether you're up here in the north or you're down here in the southeast corner, maximum stories, 2 stories. Your building height is limited to 35 feet, and building coverage is at 40%. So back in 2019, you'll see here, October 2019, the town board adopted the Eastview Mall mixed-use overlay zoning district, right? And so it covered about 161 acres, and it requires for that to be established. So that's an overlay zoning district. It's not established. It's not drawn on the map, other than I think it might be identified in the footnotes or. But it requires submission of a mixed-use plan, right, for the site that would be subject to review by the town board, and it provides some flexibility with the uses, right? So we're not prescribing just retail or just commercial, right? Maybe there could be a residential component, maybe there could be an entertainment component, maybe there could be a medical component as part of the mixed-use overlay, right? So it's got some flexibility. And just a quick question, does anybody on the board, do you know where this is?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. For those who don't know, this is at Marketplace Mall in Henrietta, the former Marketplace Mall, right? So adaptive reuse of an existing building. This is certainly maybe a new addition to that building, but it just shows the different types of uses that could happen at a mall. So the town of Victor wanted to prepare itself for an opportunity or opportunities that might come about in the future, because again, the mall of yesterday in the 1990s might not be the same as it's going to be 10, 20 years from now. So this is just a glimpse of the Eastview Mall mixed-use overlay boundary. And the mixed-use overlay deals with uses only. It doesn't deal with the setbacks, the heights, and the lot coverage. And you can see that it extends up to, I think this is a planned development district up here where you have Target, Best Buy, and Home Depot. So it extends over top of the drainage ponds here, I'll call them. You can see that the different buildings that are in the mall. And then here's BJ's here. And it also includes the movie theater, right? Yes, so then we did some further thinking, right? The town board did some further thinking and analysis, and a new zoning district was conceptualized. The boundary is similar to which the mixed-use overlay district has been established, and it provides for the same underlying uses that are in the C district, right? So you can have the same types of uses, and it provides the expanded opportunity related to the form and the dimension of future development, right? And the town board had the opportunity to decide upon the dimensional characteristics that would be afforded to this particular new zoning district. And specifically, you did hear Mr. Gottlieb reference the zoning district allowing an anchor tenant that is at a distance of at least 1,500 feet from Route 96 to have a sign that fronts on Route 96, because it affords that because they're kind of at a disadvantaged location, right? As they've spoken, you can see that they're way on the west side of the mall, on the back side of the mall. Yes, they front on Interstate 490, but they don't have very good, if any, visibility from Route 96. So this is just a quick comparison table. You can see the dimensional requirements over here on the left are of the previous commercial, or this commercial zoning district still exists. It's just not what is over top of the mall, Eastview Mall area right now. The new commercial center zoning district. On the right, this is where you'll see the new updated dimensional requirements. So minimum lot size now is 435,600 square feet, right? Lot frontage would be required to be 500 feet. This is for new parcels, right? If they were created. Front yard, 100 feet, rear yard, 100 feet, and side yard, 50 feet. But what's really kind of interesting is when we get to look at the maximum number of stories and the height. And you'll see previously, a maximum of 2 stories or 35 feet has been changed to anywhere between 2 and 5 stories and 35 and 75 feet, depending on the distance you are from Route 96. And I'll show you a map that kind of illustrates this on the next slide. It might be hard to see the large arcs that kind of go vertically that are somewhat parallel to Route 96 right here. So this is the new commercial center zoning district, all shaded in pink. And you can see a dimension here, 500 feet. So if there's an establishment or a building anywhere between Route 96 and 500 feet away, they're permitted to be a maximum height of 2 stories or 35 feet. If you're between 500 and 1,200 feet, the maximum permitted height you're afforded is 3 stories or 50 feet. And if you're 1,200 feet or more from Route 96, you're permitted 5 stories or 75 feet. So only in the very depths of the western area of the mall would a building be permitted to have 5 stories or 75 feet, right? So that, for example, that would, there's an application that's been in front of the planning board now for a while for a hotel, right? That's a 4-story hotel. That would be in this area that's 1,200 feet or more from the Route 96 pavement edge. And here, these graphics have nothing to do with any development that is in front of the planning board today. These graphics were developed several years back, probably when we were looking at the mixed-use overlay, 2019, 2020-ish. You can see that the different configurations and building height are sampled here, right? You've got the green is the 40-foot tall building, the yellow is 50 feet tall, the purple is 60 feet tall, which is way back here where the movie theater is, and then the blue is a 90-foot tall building. It's not permitted, but it was just for, this was kind of used as a study tool to figure out, you know, what might be the maximum permitted height. And you can see here just some graphics there. I think that might be it. So that's all I've got for you. Any questions?
Not yet. We may ask you, let's get all the information
Okay.
first, and then we'll figure out what our questions are and
Thank you.
figure out who's going to answer them. Thank you. Supervisor Marin, anything you'd like to say or add to the presentation?
I may thank you for the invitation. Thank you for what you service to our community. Chris, welcome.
Thanks.
Couple things. First of all, my relationship with Mike Dunham goes back to the failed other venture here in the former the Fisher's Ridge landing. But annually, you know, we touch base and getting a pulse. And I know there was a time, certainly with our own gun laws made it challenging here within our state for Bass Pro even to consider this state. But over time, we continued that dialogue, and certainly when this space became available, certainly our communications ramped up. So Wes provided a bigger overview. That originated, I tell you where that originated. Tom Wilmot Jr. is here with us this evening. Met with Tom Jr. and his father. It was right after the pandemic. And our point was that if we're going to continue, certainly things were retail, really declining. A lot of people were online sales. At that time, we knew we had to make some changes, or at least start to lay the foundation for that. That being where maybe retail is not the driving force behind this mall. We're blessed. It is still the driving force and will continue to be. We get a lot of momentum up there right now, filling a lot of vacancies. Chick-fil-A, Wes mentioned the hotel as well, and certainly this application here is very, very important. You know, I look at the efforts by the town government, town board, certainly with the height elevations as a change for the future. And then through the eminent domain process, twice with Wilmerite as our partner through that in itself was a heavy lift. And when you think about where we failed in the first attempt, to their credit, the court system really provided us with the playbook to turn that around and be successful. And successful we were. They sided with us. They looked at the mall that was really potentially leading to decline. It's like a cancer in there. Jonathan mentioned it. You know, we have vacancies. Before you know it, we were hearing the same thing. If you don't fill that location, we want to be relocated or we're going to leave the mall. And certainly we have turned this around. So I know you have a difficult challenge here before you. Have difficult challenges every other Monday here as well. But in this case, certainly I ask that you be open-minded. I think this is very important to the community, the county. And when you think of the Finger Lakes region, and no disrespect to the Auburn store, but when you look at Victor, where Victor is geographically located, we are the gateway to the Finger Lakes region. And you think of boating, fishing, everything that these people provide us with. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Kathy Rayburn is here. Anything you want to add at this time, or you want to wait? Okay.
Just the project itself is so important to the economics in Victor and this community. People are so excited about this, and we've been at it a long, long time, and I'm hoping that this board can take all of this into consideration and work collaboratively. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Ready for questions from whomever. Matt, we'll start with you and we'll work down. So anyone that has made a presentation or spoke, if you certainly can ask some questions.
Alrighty, I will start. First, thank you for coming to Victor. I think it's a great project. I think it's a great reuse of the mall. I right now don't have specific questions right now for the Bass Pro or for Wilmerite. In regards to all the wayfinding signage and the monument signs and everything else, I completely understand like the visibility and getting there and seeing everything and looking at it from Bass Pro standpoint. But as you go 5 years down the line, as was said in the presentation, JCPenney may not be here forever. From 490, the visibility, you guys took down trees to get Bass Pro visibility. Dick's House of Sports doesn't have any visibility. Have you guys looked at anything beyond just Bass Pro for the mall in general in regards to signage to like help the mall's overall health and the tenants' visibility, so we don't have, say, the monument sign or the pylon sign for Bass Pro specifically on 490, and then you have JCPenney, and you get another wonderful tenant for JCPenney. In 8 years, they're like, we need 490 visibility. Now you're looking for a second sign. Just looking at that as an overall, from the mall's overall like health and marketability and everything.
Come up.
Can you come up?
That's all right. Want to hear you.
Being a little informal, apologies, Board.
Of course.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny coincidence that question's been raised, and thank you for it. When we actually had the opportunity to review Bass Pro's signage package, I think in light of some of the tree clearing that's already occurred, that was our first sort of impression. Why don't we have a monument on 490 as well? So we don't have concrete plans, but I think they're clever and proven ability to properly sign a store has raised an interest for ourselves to potentially be back here with you at some point, but not for this project today.
Okay. All right, that would just be the one thing I would kind of have in just looking at it is if it limits them all, like if you do a pylon sign for Bass Pro on 490 and then you want to come back, next thing you know, and I understand the visibility, it's just next thing you know, you got a sign and then you're looking for another sign and then maybe another sign, and that was kind of going to Route 96 as well for the Bass Pro Monument sign. There's a Stickley Lazy Boy sign there. There's a Stickley's BJ sign there. There's the Eastview sign that's there. Now there'd be a Bass Pro sign. Then the other wayfinding sign. Then there's another wayfinding sign right in there. Just looking at it, where maybe other tenants as well could also get the advantage and make it more mall branded versus just it's another Bass Pro sign and now there's 5 monument signs sitting at that intersection.
I don't think we're envisioning that, but I'll let Charlie take that one.
What I'll say is a few things. The sign regulations that were just adopted, they only allow additional monument signs and wayfinding signs, I believe, if the anchor tenant is more than 1,500 feet away from Route 96. So that right there limits likely your ability for anything east of Bass Pro Shop to get that additional signage. So that is, that zoning law was done to recognize how far back and how far deep Bass Pro Shop is into that, that mall site. I also understand that the sign regulations are currently undergoing review in the town of Victor. I do not believe a draft of those have been publicly visible. We spoke about them a little bit at the last planning board meeting, but I think there are going to be additional sign regulations or tweaks to the sign regulations in the future, where the zoning board would be a commenter of those zoning regulations. And might think about addressing that issue at that time.
Okay. And then one other one in regards to the corridor inside the common area. When you see an anchor like Bass Pro, what do you see that doing to that area? Not just say fill in vacancy,
Yeah.
but then just the quality and of the tenant that you're going to get in that area as well.
It does a lot. Quite frankly, the anticipation of Bass Pro coming has been helpful, let alone when they're actually open the doors and you can go in and out from the mall to the store. I think what you'll see is, when you talk quality, I think there's lots of different types of quality tenants, but to be kind of specific of, you're going to see a lot more of the big nationals, because certain tenants will say, okay, we're ready to come to Rochester. Who are the tenants we do well near? And they look at their 100 plus 200 stores, and then they decide, okay, we do really well when we're near Bass Pro Shop, right? We see their volumes and we know what we are going to do. We want to be located by Bass Pro Shop at Eastview. That happens a lot. I know several tenants that think that way, and whether it's Bass Pro or others. But I think that you will see that wing continue to stay strong, and then as you go across the common area from where Penny's is towards where Bass Pro will be, I think that's where you're going to see the immediate impact of much more highly visible, highly national, kind of more sought after tenants there. That's the first area that got affected by the vacant anchor being there so long. And for instance, I don't know if this is news or not, but with the deal coming, the Bass Pro deal, we were able to convince Shoe Department to do a full remodel. So Shoe Department is adjacent to that vacant anchor and have been wanting to move because of it. Their sales have been dipping. Because of Bass Pro coming, not only did they renew, but they've committed to do a remodel of the store to bring it up to one of their newest prototypes. So that's the impact it's already had, let alone once it opens. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
kind of what I was looking to get an understanding on. And then more for Bass Pro, in regards to the location, I know you have Auburn. What is your general radius? Would you then look at doing a store in Buffalo area, or do you try to keep a larger separation to stay that regional draw and really bring them in, customers in from a farther area?
We have a different strategy for each state, and it really is established based on their population pockets. And in New York State, it's relatively simple and relatively spread out. You've got 1 million people in Albany, 1 million people in Buffalo, 1 million people in Rochester. And we put one in the Finger Lakes early on because of the Finger Lakes and because we didn't want to go to Destiny, because we thought it would be about a 25-year project. And so the state strategy is almost complete with this deal. We're only missing maybe something down on Long Island. And so between the new Clifton Park, Utica, which is sized for that market, Finger Lakes store, which is, the first one in the state, and here in Buffalo, it's done. We don't really want to put them any closer together. We're a little too close to Auburn, but Auburn really pulls a lot out of the Syracuse area. And we think collectively between the two, we may just save some people from driving a little bit further from here to Auburn. But we think Auburn will still be strong. It's a very well-established store. So I think we're pretty well done for New York State at this point with this deal.
Okay.
Can I add one other thing?
Absolutely.
I think one of you two mentioned something I think is very pertinent. That one sign that's out on 96, the way it's shown, it's flat facing towards 96. So eastbound and westbound traffic aren't going to see it like a blade sign. So I really think we should rotate that so the sign is seen from the east and seen from the west. And then once you make that turn, you'll see the flat-sided sign that makes people go around. Because with Bass Pro, it's all about the sense of arrival. And I spent many times with the Wilmerite folks driving that to say we really don't want people to turn right and go down in and get lost in that Macy's Raymore and Flanagan area and have to try to fight their way through taking them around. Once you come around the bend, coming down by LL Bean, that's what you're looking at, and that gives everybody that sense of arrival. So I think that's a very good point that, I can't remember which one of you made that point. And so I don't know if that has to be established in this meeting, rotating that sign, but it should be probably rotated.
You? Anything else, Matt?
That'll start. I'll stop for there, for now. Yep.
We can circle back. Larry, questions, comments?
Yes, actually, I have a question for the town. Why did the town not, since you just redid the zoning, why did you not address the issue of the pylon facing, and I know you didn't have Bass Pro at the point, but having a sign facing 490 that's above a certain level? I mean, was it not, I'm just curious as to, they want to put the 50-foot sign fit so they get the visibility off of 490, but for some reason, it's restricted to, Adam, 15 feet?
Well, the sign's not permitted.
Oh, the sign's not permitted.
That area, which I mentioned in my comments too, might not have been considered because the mall parcel is, when it's subdivided, I think this is a reason, I may be inaccurate on the reasoning for it, but there's a large area of the mall that is under these declarations of restricted covenant, which don't allow for, they're supposed to remain open space. And so when they were reviewing that area, that those no-build areas, as they called them, were considered. So it's probably just never.
So the variance they're asking for is for an actual variance for a sign and not just the height?
Correct.
Okay.
For the one by 490.
Right.
So we're clear.
Right.
I don't know if you had a chance to see my comments or if they were aware that it's in that no-build area.
I did see the comments. I picked up on that from when we went through that with the Chick-fil-A. So the way the no-build restrictive covenant works is the planning board has the authority to amend that no-build covenant. So that's why we wanted to come to the ZBA, confirm what the signage will be, get a determination from the ZBA, and then address if necessary.
Well, I agree with my co-person here that, there should be, if we're going to put a sign there for visibility, then I think it needs to be thought out a lot more about how much of a sign there's going to be as far as, will it be just Bass Pro or Dick's? I'm sure Dick's would like to have visibility off of 490, At least think about it in that way, so that we're not sitting here a year from now and, oh, well, now somebody else wants to be on that sign. Okay, the brands, if we can talk about that for a moment. All of the brands are owned by a Bass Pro Shop subsidiary, or is Bass Pro Shop a subsidiary?
Bass Pro
Someone else?
Bass Pro Shop owns all those brands. Tracker Boat Service, from what I understand, they are a separate LLC. And so that LLC.
But owned by Bass Pro?
Bass Pro.
Okay. It should, I guess I'm trying to figure out a way to say this. Would Bass Pro be open to having a restriction that if they sell any of those brands, that the signs are no longer covered under the variance?
I can't make that determination tonight. What I would say is, we can certainly look into it, but, I want to make sure this board is focused on the land use impact that we have to evaluate for the area variance. And the land use impact that is in your test for the area variance is what's the detriment to the community? So, theoretically having a condition that sometime in the future, if a brand or an LLC branches off or is sold, it really doesn't have anything to do with the area variance test. So it's not tied to the application, but we can certainly, I can have discussions with the client, and when we resubmit, I can provide some more information on that.
Okay. Sign number 16, which is at the road that comes out of Target. I understand that. I think, I drive that all the time. It's perfect. Why was there not a request for one coming out of the Home Depot further down.
Just,
And it may be just because you see where the target one is, and then
so
to the
this
left
is-
of that, to the left of that is another road that comes up from the Home Depot.
here.
Yes.
So if you see those pictures that in our packet, and I can provide this elevation as well, when you're coming in from this location, you can see the Bass Pro Shop. So you can see the northern elevation signage there, so there's really no need for a wayfinding sign just to tell you to go across the parking lot and go into the building. Whereas up here, you can't see this building from that intersection. So we need that wayfinding sign to tell you to go west, and then you're right around the corner.
And they will just see the back of the Bass Pro, is that right? Because the front of
They
the
will
Bass Pro
see, yeah,
will be on the other side.
the front of the Bass Pro is here. What they will see is this. So they'll see the tracker service, which again, customers always know that that's Bass Pro Shop. But then they will also see that Bass Pro Shop logo sign that's facing north on this tower. That's facing that way.
Not to necessarily add more signs to
Just say,
your
we
packet,
could add another sign.
but when you're coming there, because your view corridor there is probably 20 feet in the air, just the way that is simulation, if you're down,
Oh, you're not,
you may not actually see
The tower?
that tower.
Right.
So you may want to look at Home Depot to see if, from that driveway, if you'll actually see the tower and if that sign's high enough.
So my colleagues here at Fisher Associates we are going to provide some view shed renderings, and I think that's an important one to take a look at.
well, and again, to be honest with you, I'm not asking for more signs, but I really think you should have a sign there. I mean, it'll just make the traffic, because there are going to be people who are going to come out of there pretty fast, and
Yep.
they're not even going to see the Bass Pro, especially if it's just the top you got there. You mentioned a Cabela's. What is a Cabela?
Cabela's, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's another Bass Pro Shop store essentially. It's owned by Bass Pro Shop and Cabela's. It's like a Bass Pro Shop, but it's called Cabela's. I don't know.
It doesn't Cabela, it's more limited to what they're selling, where Bass Pro sells more.
The
Well,
easy,
you don't have to answer it, because
no,
I
the
was just
easy
curious
answer is
what
in
it was.
2018, we acquired a competing chain called Cabela's. They were very much like a Bass Pro in that they were very big. They were a little more hunting oriented. We were a little more fishing oriented. We both blended together, and we started competing in places. The Bass Pro in Cheektowaga was a Cabela's, and I believe it still is. Yeah, it still is a Cabela's. And so, as part of that acquisition, we've rebranded many of those stores, particularly in the South, Midwest, and Southeast, to Bass Pros, but not all of them. So there still are Cabela's stores, especially in the Northwest, where that brand was stronger. And so, in doing that, we have maintained the Cabela's brand as our hunting brand. So you will often see a Cabela's sign, in place of one of those. It might say, maybe instead of Ascend, it might say Cabela's, especially if we're in a big hunting market. So that's determined. I do have one other question. Maybe we should ask Mickey. The whole point of the tower is to give us some visibility from 96. And I'm surprised we don't have a Bass Pro sign on that one panel, which is the one panel that's visible to 96. So maybe we should get a yellow marker and draw one so you can get that in the same approval.
There is a sign that does not require a variance that is going on the front side of the mall site there
Okay,
for visibility on 96, but we can certainly take a
okay.
look at it.
Well, that helps a lot with that issue then. Okay, thank you.
I have no more questions. Thanks, you've done an awful lot of work here, and it's a pretty exciting prospect.
Yeah, questions, comments?
Yeah, yes. For sign 18 on your sheet, for that wayfinding sign, Yeah, that's it. I mean, totally understand why you have it there, and I think you mentioned that you probably don't need a variance for that one. You know, can we clarify that?
They don't need a variance
You
for
don't
that
need a
sign.
variance, okay.
We don't need a variance, but under the planning board's jurisdiction, it can negatively impact traffic. So that's why we're having our traffic consultant take a
Okay,
look.
because that was my question. I mean, I understand and I support having it to divert the traffic left rather than going right, into the mall parking lot by Macy's. But it is it could be an obstruction to traffic coming up the ramp from like where Macy's is, and then cars coming from BJ's, not seeing each other. Because that's a bad intersection as it is right now.
Yeah.
For all cars coming back and forth.
This is actually, for your information, because we've been, your town staff has been excellent to work with, and this is a second iteration of what this sign looks like, reduced from what it was previously based on that traffic concern. So we'll continue to coordinate with town staff to make sure the traffic impacts are assessed.
And all the brand signs that you talked about, Tracker, Ascend, and Redhead, and you went through all the areas of the building where you have it. So just if you could go through it again, how many, on the building itself, how many, I don't know how to say it.
Brand
How
signs?
many, no, part of that, but how many walls are there? Because your building has, I think, is it three different, three different walls, or faces?
Yeah, so our location in the mall is a peninsula, essentially, three-sided.
Yeah.
So here you have our front entrance, which is the southern elevation. That has Tracker, Ascend, and Redhead are the three brand signs. Then we go to the western elevation. No brand signs there. An additional Town of Victor mural was added by the planning board to break up this elevation because they said it was looking quite vacant, which is also an architectural concern. And then this is your northern elevation, again with the brand sign of Tracker Service.
Which one?
And Power Pros has been deemed not to be a brand sign.
So those are the only three sides.
Correct. There is, as we just spoke about with Mike, I do not think we have a rendering of it, but we can provide one. The Lord and Taylor building, there we go. This is sign number 14. It does not require a variance. This is on the Route 96 elevation, facing Route 96 of the mall.
Okay.
There's an existing Lord and Taylor sign there. We're replacing it in kind with square footage.
Okay. Now, I know you said you own, Bass Pro Shops owns.
Wish I did.
Well, and speaking for Bass Pro Shops, so that Bass Pro Shop owns those three bands under an LLC. And maybe this is getting into too much detail, but is there like a contract with those brands and LLCs, for having these signs up on the building?
So I can ask that question. I don't know off the top of my head. What I do know is the only separate LLC is Tracker Boats and ATVs. That's a separate LLC that, its main managing member, let's say, is Bass Pro Shop. The others are exclusively owned by Bass Pro Shop, can only be found in Bass Pro Shop shops. But we will provide more information on that structure and whether or not there are any, because they are not separate entities other than Tracker, I doubt they have any, it's all the same entity, but we can provide more information.
Okay. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ready?
Not at this, I'm good. I'm,
Okay.
nothing.
All right. Well, everyone will probably have an opportunity to ask more questions. So to Larry's point, on the brand names, to consider the relationship the Tracker, Ascent, and Red Hat has with Bass Pro. If the board grants this, my gut is telling me that part of the justification is going to be they are very integral, related to, owned by Bass Pro. If those brand names all of a sudden are owned by someone else and not Bass Pro, that justification almost becomes irrelevant. What we're concerned about, we have looked at it before, that other stores, we looked at, for example, Kohl's, Sephora wanted to go in, and that was denied because it's really not a separate store itself, unlike whether it be Starbucks or CVS that's within Target, they're separate receipts. So if you follow me, don't need an answer today, but talk to your client on if those brand names are approved, that possibly the board may want to consider some type of condition that says if those brand names either are sold to somebody else or for some reason, we hope not, Bass goes away, then the new owner, or I should say the new tenant, wouldn't have those same rights that Bass is asking for now. Right?
Yeah.
So something to think about.
I think, let me go to the drawing board on that and speak with our team.
Okay. If I understand this right, on sign number 14, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Red Hat and Ascent are very coveted proprietary brands for the company. Part of our whole uniqueness and strategy is to maintain our own brands and build our own brands. And so, without a doubt, if we were to ever sell Red Hat brand, we would probably won't be carrying it, and we wouldn't want the sign up there. So I would absolutely, for the record, say that should that ever change, that we would at least probably, if replace it with a different proprietary brand. But we wouldn't have any brands that were not exclusively owned and manufactured by Bass Pro Shop.
Okay, that's helpful. What possibly could happen if the board then decides to put the condition that is specific to Tracker, Ascent, and Red Hat, then if Bass Pro then changes gears or decides to put new brands in that owns it, the board may decide to say you'd have to apply for another variance again to make a similar argument, say whether Bass owns it, the reason why we need to have it is X, Y, Z. Because the way that, and I'm sure council will tell you this, variances are going to run with the land. So if we make it specific to just those brands, not like Nike, not like Adidas and all that,
Correct.
this is very specific to Bass Pro.
Right.
Just something to consider.
No,
talk
I
to
understand,
council.
and the approval is that because they are exclusively Bass Pro. We're not putting Columbia and we're not putting Red Hat. If we were Kohl's, we're not putting Sephora or one of the Starbucks inside a Target. I understand. These are completely 100% owned and only available at Bass Pro Shops. So I think that would be absolutely fair. I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Understood.
So I think we're going to be good.
While I got you up here, let me ask you this. Of the Bass Pros that, were there hundreds of them throughout the country?
180
180.
after
okay.
the Cabela's acquisition.
Is it fair to say then that what you're asking for here with the logos, Tracker, Ascent, Red Hat, the service, all of the things that, the signage that you're asking for, it runs similar through, these are common threads through all of those, 180 or so. Those are needs, not wants.
It's all actual. I didn't bring the photo album, but I could show you.
Oh,
We've been approved in all but one location. We didn't get all the signage variances. 99% of every other store has them all. And the Tracker, in this particular case, the Tracker boat service, that's really important because people are going to be pulling their boat in and, coming around, great for having an awesome ring road. But they're going to need to know somewhere on that building where they got to go for the service.
Sure.
So that's, critical. And there's not a lot of signage on that side, so that shouldn't be an issue. But yeah, Tracker's the only LLC that's wholly owned by Bass Pro Shops.
And you've had, I'm sorry to interrupt you, go ahead.
Oh, I was done.
So if I understood you, I think you mentioned earlier, you've had to go, or you or the company has to go to other municipalities. Granted, all the codes are different. You've had to ask for variances for similar requests, signage, and everyone but one.
In almost every case, we have had to go
Successful.
for a variance.
That
In
helps.
only one case, San Jose, California, did we ever not get everything that we were asking for. They approved 70% of it, but not 100% of
Okay,
it.
good, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
There's probably one for Adam. Sign 14, that one right there, that's up on the screen now. They don't need a variance because?
So the mall specifically, I believe it was part of their approval of their subdivision, when they created those anchor stores, all the anchor stores on the mall are permitted a sign on the opposite entrance. So if you're over by J.C. Penney, there's, I believe it's a Von Maur sign. I believe Von Maur also has one because they're kind of a unique position on the front. J.C. Penney has one over at the food court entrance. So in that specific spot, there was a Lord and Taylor sign because it's directly opposite of, it's basically the opposite entrance. Because these stores only have the 3 frontages, because their 4th frontage is internal to the mall, they have it on the opposite entrance.
It seems contradictory to me that you're making an effort for the wayfinders to steer people away from the middle part of the mall, and there you're trying to attract people to the middle part of the mall to tell them where they are. And I kind of like the idea. It's like you got the tower that's missing a sign, and maybe you want to think about trading it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't, I know you don't need a variance. Now that explains it.
Yeah, understood. And I think the idea is all these signs are designed to work in tandem. So you're driving past 96, 96 South, quickly look to your right, you see the Bass Pro Shop sign, you look up, you see the monument sign, you turn right. And so it's kind of a sequence of signals to go into Bass Pro Shop, but we can certainly explore whether an additional tower sign would be suitable.
Can you get, again, going back to 14 again, can you get in that entrance of the mall and actually get to the Bass Pro?
I think you can get to the Bass
Go through
Pro
the whole
from
mall, right?
any entrance of the mall, I would think.
Right, but again, they don't need a variance for that sign, so it's permitted. But it's consistent with the rest of the mall. And not everybody who's going to Macy's, they may also have to go to the Lego store, for instance, which is on the opposite side of the mall. They may choose to park on one end of the mall, and then I think these signs just kind of say, come in this way, keep going, you're going to get there.
Okay, so, sign 17. It sounds like there was some discussion about, at 17? I'm looking at a different one then. The one on 96.
Right there.
That's it. Was there discussion about now turning it 90 degrees, or are you going to?
Discussion of some other alteration to that sign to make sure it can be seen from north to south travelers.
All right, so I would like to make a suggestion. If, once you decide on where it's going to go, is we've oftentimes asked applicants, stake it out, put some stakes here, get something so we can take a look at it. So what does it look like? What does it feel like? Is it going to cause an obstruction? So if your client would be willing to do that.
Sure, and would you like that with the internal wayfinding signs as well?
I think well, does the board want to see them all? 'Cause you don't need a variance for the island. You do need one for it over the one by Target.
Yep.
Sure, why don't you, do them both so we have an idea of what they look like, where they are. Some of it, I think it sounds like your traffic people are going to take a look at obstructions. It's going to help us get, again, a visual of where it is, what it looks like, and whether it's as is or you're going to turn it 90 degrees.
I think if it's okay with this board, what we would do is we'll internally discuss any potential changes to the orientation of the signs. Once we submit that final brand book to the ZBA, we'll stake it out so you can go and look at it before the meeting.
And
I'd just make a quick comment on that sign too. Depending on how it's reoriented and redesigned, the need for the variance may go away, just so you're aware. Because it's really just the distance from the pavement edge
Yep.
of 96 that you're seeking the variance for, not for the sign itself.
Yeah, if they turn it the other way.
Depending on how they reorient it based on the new orientation, it could potentially no longer need the variance.
Okay, great.
and on sign 19, to piggyback both on Larry and Matt's point, I have a lot of reservations on the need for 19. I correct me if I'm wrong, you can't exit 490 and get into that parking lot. So there's, and you pointed out, somebody did, that now that that clearing has taken place and you're going up and down 490, it doesn't take much to see Lord and Taylor. The signage that's on the building, it's, from my standpoint, it seems like it's a bit of an overkill that, for that being there, and it's just going to cause more problems for this board, if you will, for other people asking for similar variances that we're here to hear variances, but we don't need more. Go ahead, you wanted to say something?
Two-part question on this. The idea of this sign is, and I've driven it many times, if you're coming from Bushnell's Basin eastbound, you can see the Lord and Taylor building. If you're going westbound, okay, you got the hill there. There may be some more tree clearing that comes, which will give you a view of the storefront. We're not sure about that yet, but what this sign was designed to do is allow people going westbound to see the sign, realizing that there is a store there, because once you get past the hill, you have to look back over your shoulder to see it. And so we thought by having that sign there, it'll let them know. But I do agree, maybe there needs to be something that says next exit.
So if you're heading eastbound on 490, heading towards 90, you've gone too far. There's an exit before that it says mall.
We've gone
get
too
off. So
far.
you're not
And
going to
that's
see.
going to be hard for people to get back.
You're not going to see the sign. You follow me? There's an exit before you see the Lord and Taylor opening.
Right.
If you're heading westbound on 490, it seems you should have gotten off 490 sooner. You've gone too far again. It makes no sense to have that sign there.
Well, if you're going westbound, you'll see this sign. You'll get off at Bushnell's and come right back 96.
And you shouldn't be looking like this over your right shoulder.
That's what I'm saying. That's why we want to put the sign there, because otherwise people won't know there's a Bass Pro if they're going westbound, because they would have to look over their shoulder to see the tower.
Okay, so if you are entering on Victor, right, and you look off to your right, why would you go on 490 when you shouldn't have gotten on 490 in the first place?
I think I'm following you, but I'm assuming you're already on 490. You're heading into Rochester. You don't know.
Off the thruway?
Off the thruway or coming from 96 and you're on 490. You see that sign and you know, oh, there's a Bass Pro there. You can still get off at Bushnell's.
Isn't that what GPS is for? I
Well,
just, from
I
my
thought
standpoint,
about having
I
a
can't
sign that
speak for
just
the.
says, "Hey Siri, navigate me to Bass Pro." That's probably the best billboard we could ever have.
From my standpoint, you're asking for a lot of signage. There seems to be a fair justification for why it is, because it's, that parcel is so far off of 96. I just don't right now see the justification for it. So if you or your council want to do some more homework or more convincing at the next application, next hearing, and have at it. But right now,
We could do that, and I will also talk to the developer because I think some of the points here are good in that for future anchors, for future special, having a multi-tenant sign in this location, okay, on 490, would be good. And as long as we could have, the top billing, we'd pitch in to help the developer build it. Because we would be building this on our own nickel anyways. So if they want to consider that for other future tenants on the highway, we could maybe, hold that, shake hands that, we hold on it, but maybe someday it comes back. And the point two of the question is, I just confirmed that we would prefer to make that trade and take the one, because it doesn't make sense to lead people thinking they're going to Bass Pro, and then they come in and the donut shop or the nail shop, or they got to walk all the way through the mall. So we would give up that mall front on 96 to put it up on that tower. I think it's much more uniform, and to your point, it leads them to the right location.
all right, so work those details out, I suppose, for the next presentation. But I think you do know, I believe, County Planning Board hasn't heard the application yet, so we can't do anything today. You probably should get those, Ts crossed, Is dotted, get it to the County Planning Board if that switch is going to make. So I think they're going to probably want to know that.
You mean if there's any, to the extent there's any changes to this? The
Yes,
plan book?
yep. Yes.
Certainly, the New York State General Municipal,
Thank you.
New York State General Municipal Law allows for changes to be made even after the GML. So I'm comfortable with the package going out
Okay.
now to the county for satisfaction with GML. I don't know, has it yet?
It's already gone out.
Okay, great. Maybe if we get a brand book revised, whipped up quick, I can shoot it over to the county. So we should then be in a position at the next meeting to potentially, if the board likes some changes and additional justifications that we show, to have a determination on this. But certainly I understand we have to go to the county.
Okay.
I got a couple
Yep,
more.
Go ahead.
Real quick on sign 16, which is the one I think as you're coming in from Target.
Yep.
Just a suggestion, you might want to look about maybe actually flipping it to the other side of that drive. I could see people coming in, seeing the sign there, possibly heading straight down that drive lane towards Penny's there versus if it's on the right side, that would actually send them right, just a.
So worry about them going straight instead of turning?
They may, versus go right. Way people drive nowadays, you never know. It's also a oddly designed intersection. The stop bar's like 30, 35 feet back from the actual
noticed that
ring
the other
road.
day.
So that, wherever the sign winds up going, probably want to look at the stop bar, stop sign location just
Okay.
to make sure. And then kind of piggybacking on what Mike said, and in regards to that sign on 490, with the tree clearing, the Bass Pro has gotten much more visibility in that Lord and Taylor building. But in my personal opinion, I think the justification for a sign there would change if it's not just Bass Pro, and if there were other actual tenants on that sign, because then the visibility from 490 starts to be different versus if we're just looking at Bass Pro, the justification might be a little bit harder because you see Bass Pro and you see the sign, just in talking out from my standpoint on that.
Gary, anything else?
Yeah, Adam, if they take that one sign off that they can have already, do they need a variance to put that sign on the other side of the tower, where they don't have one now?
I believe they would, depending on how they present it, because those signs are 300 and something square feet. And
So, yeah, that's a good question. So
Right.
the idea is, let me just,
it was one of the 3D renderings.
yeah. So we're putting it right there.
I think it was actually.
'Cause this is
the other
north,
side.
so.
If you go to the south, I think there's a better, or, yeah. go-
This is actually facing north. There is sign number 11 here.
Yep, go to the south elevation, the front. There you go.
Oh, there you go. That's a better view.
Yeah.
So-
Right there.
The way the code defines the frontage, because the one wall is internal to the mall, there's no frontage. Your frontage width would be the width of that tower. Regardless, your frontage was only 240. I can't remember the number. I'd have to look.
For the sign 14.
So when we were talking about the eastern or the western elevation.
Yeah.
You need a variance for square footage because it's a 327 square foot sign. There's 200 and, don't quote me on the numbers. That, basically that same variance would apply.
241.
Right.
So we would just have to calculate some potential new variances that are needed there.
It would be a variance for square footage. You'd be permitted a sign. It would just be for the square footage.
Okay.
And jumping on what Larry said before, if you're moving that sign, you may just want to look at the north face instead of the tower. I just think from where you're thinking it's going to be visible, it might not have the
Now
visibility.
you're talking about the northern elevation.
Which doesn't have any Bass Pro sign on it at all, except counting on the tower. So if you're taking the sign from the other side, whatever you guys would want to.
So almost just taking this sign and putting it on the other side
No, I
and
don't
putting a
think
Bass
that-
Pro Shop
I'm
sign
saying
here.
instead of putting a third sign on the tower, moving that sign and actually having it on the north face instead might make more sense from a visibility standpoint.
So it would be one new sign in total. We would have one on this north elevation of the tower.
All four sides of the tower.
No, I'm saying,
Oh, no, and then I
I'm
think
saying on
he's
the
saying
building.
bring it down here.
I'm saying put the sign on the building because I think the way the grade out there, once you're looking, it just might not be have visibility versus being on the side of the building there instead. It might just be better on the building face.
But I think the way they want to put the sign up there is to 96. This is going to face Home Depot.
I see what you're saying. Yep, okay.
Yeah, so that does, I mean, that might help them, though
It's
I
accomplishing
still
it.
think you need another monument sign at that other entrance.
Yeah, I think, as I said, we're doing some view shed visualizations, and that'll really help with that.
But I think they need it. They wanted to be able to see it from 96.
I get what you're saying. I was looking at it from a different perspective, yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Leah, any more questions? You're good? Chris?
All set.
Anyone from the public want to speak for or against the application? All right, hearing none. Thank you. This was very helpful, great presentation. I think we have enough to take a look at. When's our next meeting for this?
So the meeting following the county would be May 18th.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone, for your time and your thoughtful questions. Thank you.
Very good. Safe
Nicely
travels.
done.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. All right, a quick note before entertaining a motion for adjournment. Thank you for covering last time. While I was away, I did look at or listen to the audiovisual. So I think we have to be more cognizant to, while we can hear each other there, if we're speaking, lean into the microphone, because from time to time, and I think what happened is, let's say if we're asking Adam a question, I noticed everyone's leaning back, and then someone said something, and then it gets lost. So if you're speaking, just lean into the microphone so Amber and the people that are watching can hear us. Okay, great. Anything else for the order of the board? Hearing none, I would entertain a
Move to
motion
adjourn.
for adjournment. All right, all in favor?